Namaskara to all of you and welcome to our next session on Yogic Life. So, the topic that I want to talk today is that human beings have been blessed with a lot of potential. If they misuse that potential, then it is extremely harmful, right? So, if we have a pot and the space that is in the pot and the space that is outside, that is the Gatakasha and Mahakasha. Mahakasha is the space everywhere, and Gatakasha is the Akasha that is there in the Gata, in the pot, right? So if the pot breaks, then the Akasha that is there in the pot merges with the Mahakasha, right? Because the Akasha inside the Gata is the same Akasha which is outside, right? It's exactly same like the Shiva and the Jiva, right? Both of them are essentially one principle. Shiva is the larger principle, and Shiva is perfect, right? Whereas the Jiva, they are imperfect. By the sadhana, by doing sadhana, the Jiva becomes goes from imperfection to perfection, because Shiva is perfect, right? So essentially, what happens is we can think of that Gata as the mind, and then the Akasha inside is the Jiva, and there is Mahakasha. There is the Nirguna Purusha everywhere. When the mind is broken, or when the like the Gata is broken, when the mind is dissolved, then the Jiva inside merges with the Shiva, right? And this is possible by doing struggle against the imperfection, right? The mind has malas, the mind has imperfections, and one has to struggle to fight against these imperfections. And when they fight against these imperfections, then with the kripa of Paramatma, then what happens is that the Jiva merges with Shiva. So actually Paramapurusha's kripa, there is one kripa. Because of Paramapurusha's kripa, Jivas are blessed with one special guna, right? Compared to other beings, Jivas have a special guna. What is that guna? Is that they have been blessed with this guna that as they think, so they become. That guna has been blessed to the human beings, right? So when the Jiva, which is imperfect, and when the Jiva thinks about that Paramapurusha, when it takes the bhavana of that Paramapurusha, what happens is that it keeps thinking about Paramapurusha, and then one day it becomes that Paramapurusha. So that kind of capability is there in the Jivas, and this capability is there with the Kripa of Paramapurusha. Because of the Kripa of Paramapurusha, Jivas have this guna, and so they take the bhava of that Shiva, and they eventually become that Shiva, right? This is the biggest Kripa that has been given on human beings, right? Where they can merge themselves with that Shiva and go from imperfection to perfection. So if this guna was not there, that if they see as they think, so they become. If this guna was not there in the Jivas, then the Jivas would be stuck here in the samsara forever. They would never be able to merge with that Shiva. So what we have to remember is that whatever we think, whatever thoughts we have, whatever bhavana we have, and what is the adhara for all that bhavana? The adhara for all that bhavana is that Paramapurusha, right? So whatever guna that we have, whatever the guna that Jivas have, whether it is little shakti or a lot of shakti, whatever we have, right? It is the adhara for that is Paramapurusha. So if human beings having obtained the shakti or guna from Paramapurusha, if we don't utilize it, if we misuse it, right? If we misuse it, then what happens is that Paramatma will slowly take away that shakti from you, right? So if he doesn't take away that shakti from you, if you have a lot of shakti and if you misuse that shakti, then what happens is that you try to harm the society. With that misusing of that shakti, you harm the society, you harm the Srishti. Paramapurusha never tolerates if somebody tries to harm the Srishti, right? So he will eventually take away that Shakti. Like for instance, we have seen, we have seen, we have seen so many Ravans and so many Kamsas, right? They have come here and they have tried to misuse the Shakti, and we saw what happened to them at the end, right? Paramatma takes away that complete Shakti, right? So whatever Shakti, Buddhi, Guna, whatever Paramapurusha has given, right? It is in 1 minute he can take it away, right? Nobody can say this Shakti is mine. Nobody can have that Shakti. All the Shakti belongs to that supreme entity, right? So if we try to misuse the Shakti and we try to harm the society, harm the Srishti, then for the protection of the Srishti, Paramatma will take away that guna, right? So the Shakti or the guna goes away when you misuse it. So whatever little bit of guna or Shakti that we have, and that also we try to misuse, then we cannot think that the Shakti will be with us forever, right? He was the one who gave it to us, and he can take it away from us anytime. So we may ask the question, right? When we give a dana, we don't take it back. How come Paramatma gave this Shakti to us, and why is he taking it back? He's already given it to us. Why is he taking it back? So the point is that for protecting the Srishti, right, he will take it away, right? So this Srishti is such a beautiful thing, and for protection of the Srishti, Paramatma can do anything, right? So we should not misuse the Shakti or Buddhi that has been given to us, right? So if we misuse the Shakti, then we should always remember that he can take it away, right? So Paramatma is also called as the Darpahari, right? Darpaha means that ahankara, right? So if there is a bhakta, if there is a sadhaka who is a sincere sadhaka, right, but in that sadhaka's mind, if he misuses the gunas given to him, or if he has ahankara, right, if he ahankara, right, then what does Paramatma do? Paramatma will immediately, that darpa, that ahankara that he has, he will just destroy that ahankara, right? So this is what his capability is. If he misuses the ahankara, he will destroy it, right? If you try to destroy the Srishti, he will completely destroy you. That's why he's called Darpahari, right? So there are people in this world who are very, very darpi. That is, they are very ahankari, right? They have too much of ahankara for their buddhi. They have too much of ahankara for their shakti, too much ahankara for their wealth, right? So nobody needs to be scared of those people, right? Because whatever ahankara they have, right, that damba and that shakti that they have, and they're misusing, right, Paramatma never tolerates that. He destroys that darpa, right? So you don't even need to pray, do prarthana to Paramatma, right? uh, he himself will come and destroy that darpa, right? So that is why Paramatma is called as Darpahari. This to destroy the darpa is actually his work. If it is not his work, then why would he call him as Darpahari, right? So so it is actually essentially, that is why Paramatma is called as Darpahari, because he destroys the darpa, right? And there is no need to be afraid of anybody who is a ahankar in this world, right? Their darpa will definitely be destroyed. Paramatma will wait for the right time and he'll destroy it, right? So that is why in this world, whoever it may be, who is supposed to be very shaktishali because of his gunas or buddhi or wealth or whatever, there is no need to be afraid of such people in this world, right? So there is no need to be afraid of anybody in this world, right? So there is no need to be afraid of any human being in this world, because whatever shakti or buddhi that they have gotten from Paramatma. Because no human being can create energy, no human being can create shakti, right? They can only transform. They cannot create any shakti, right? That shakti or that energy, that urja comes from that Paramatma, So you get that energy from Paramatma and you're showing that ahankara, right, that I am the most shaktishali, right? But what we forget is that we are dependent on that Paramatma for that energy. Therefore, we should not be afraid of anybody, any human being in this universe, right? Whoever is a papi, who's doing a lot of, sins, who is actually misusing his powers, right? There is no need to be afraid of them, because one day Paramatma will destroy their ahankara, will take away their shakti. So what should you do? You should only be afraid of Paramatma. You should not be afraid of anybody else. You should only be afraid of Paramatma. We should have the deep love and affection for Paramatma, right? So if we do anyaya, right? If we do anyaya, then Paramatma, according to his swabhava, he will get angry with you for whatever anyaya that you do, right? Because Paramatma loves you and he wants you to be on the right path, right? So a sadhaka needs to be afraid of Paramatma. He needs to have the bhayam towards that Paramatma, because Paramatma, Paramapurusha, is the gunadhara for all the gunas. Sarvendriya gunabhasam, sarvendriya vivarjitam, sarvasya prabhum ishanam, sarvam avritya tishtati. So every jiva has indriyas, right? The indriyas have the capacity of grasping the gunas, right? Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Sparsha, Gandha. All these gunas, the indriyas can grasp. But how does the indriyas get that shakti to grasp the gunas? It is because of Paramatma has given that shakti to the indriyas. Even though Paramatma doesn't have any indriyas, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam, he doesn't have any indriyas. But for all the jivas, he has given the indriyas and he has given the shakti, right? Sarvasya Prabhuhu, Prabhum, Ishanam, right? This Paramatma, he is the Prabhu of everything. He is the Lord of everything. And he is Sarvavyapi. He is there everywhere, right? There is no place where he is not there, right? So whatever gunas that we come in contact with, right, those gunas are only, essentially, those gunas are located in Paramatma, and the reflection of those gunas come onto us, right? And because of that reflection, we operate. We think it is our gunas, right? But actually these gunas are not our gunas. These gunas are all Paramapurusha's gunas, and due to his reflection on our mind, we get those gunas and our indriyas all operate, right? Whatever we think and whatever we don't think, everything is in Paramapurusha's chitta. Everything in his Paramapurusha's chitta. Our brain is very, very small, right? Our brain is very small, and we have very, very limited capacity, right? So those people, the so-called nastikas, who don't believe in God, what they do is, right, they say that, oh, there is no God in this world. I have the capacity, I have all the capacity in my mind, my mental faculty is very good, and I can do logic and I can do analysis, and I have all the capacity in my mind. But then what happens is that even such people, when they are in trouble, then they also say, hey Paramatma, you're there, I was thinking everything is in my hands, you're there, please help me, right? Even those people, those nastikas, also come to such a state. When they are hale and healthy, they think they're the lord of the world, but when they get some problem, then they come down deep in their heart, they come down and they say, hey Paramatma, please forgive me, right? So this Paramapurusha, right, he is the one who forgives everybody, right? This bhumihi, this prithvi is called as sarvam saha. Prithvi is called as sarvam saha. Prithvi has many names: bhuhu, bhumihi, dhara, dharitri, sarvam saha, vasumati, gotra, kuhu, prithvi, kshama, iti. There are so many names, mahi, right? So these are all the names of earth, right? Sarvam saha, he is sarvam saha because she bears everything. Whatever we do in this world, uh, she bears it, right? If you are angry, if you're hitting the earth, if you're spitting on the earth, whatever you do, she tolerates everything, right? So like that Paramapurusha, if we say something wrong against Paramapurusha, he tolerates you. He tolerates you, right? Because this Paramapurusha is Sarvam Saha, right? So he has this Sahana Shakti. So sadhakas, as sadhakas, we should have the Sahana Shakti. If somebody says something, immediately we should not feel, we should not express uh, immediately, right? We should have some control, right? We should have that Sahana Shakti. So some people, if you say something, immediately they get really very angry and they start yelling, right? So this earth has got the Shakti from Paramatma. This earth is called Sarvam Saha. She's got that Shakti from Paramatma, right? So when does Paramatma actually punish you? So when you curse Paramatma, when you abuse Paramatma, when you go against Paramatma, he never punishes you, right? But when does he punish you? When you misuse your Shakti and you cause harm to the Srishti, that is when he punishes you. Till then, you no longer curse Paramatma, you say whatever against him, he just keeps quiet. But when you try to harm the Srishti, then he doesn't tolerate. Then to protect the Srishti, he comes, right? So people say that in the Surya Chakra, uh, at one point in time, the Surya will not have the heat, right? Due to the extreme this one Shaityam, the extreme cold, there will be a thermal death, and this whole Srishti will get destroyed. That is what people say. But actually speaking, such a thing is not possible, because as long as there are sadhakas who are doing sadhana, the Shakti from their Chinta Shakti, right? The Shakti from their thoughts, the heat from their thoughts will be able to protect this universe, right? So will give that heat to the Surya, right? So that's why we should never be afraid. We should never be afraid of any thing. People say that this earth will get destroyed. One day this whole earth will get destroyed. There will be nothing, right? But actually speaking, such an event is not possible. Will never happen, right? So we don't need to be afraid that one day this whole world will be destroyed. Like for instance, even during COVID, people thought, oh, this whole world will be destroyed. So such a thing is not possible. This world will not be destroyed so soon, right? This world is not going to be destroyed anytime soon. Even atom bomb doesn't have the capability to completely destroy the human species, right? So what should we do as sadhakas? We should not be afraid of any human being. Only thing that we should be afraid of is Paramatma. We should live in this world, right? We should do sadhana. We should do jana seva, right? So we should create this beautiful human society, right, where we live together in peace, and we progress spiritually forward, right? We should live in this world as one human society, right? Not harming anybody, but living together, right, with love and affection, right? To live here in the society and have the bhakti bhava for Paramapurusha, sing the glory of Paramatma, right? So if human beings, they don't do this adhyatmic sadhana, then definitely they will have adogati. They will definitely have adogati, right? So it's very essential that we do sadhana, we do jana seva. Jana seva is also very important. We have to do that. Only then we can have this progress. So essentially what this today's topic is that whatever shakti and guna we have got, we have gotten it, we've got all that from Paramatma, right? None of it belongs to us. So what we have got, we have to use it properly for the welfare of the society, right? So that is what this is talking about. Now we can actually go to our Karapatra. We've been talking about Yama, right? So Yama and Niyama is our topic for today. So we said that this this naitikata, morality, right? People think that if they have the simple morality, right, that is, they don't harm anybody, they tell the truth, and they follow particular some people may be religious, some people may not be religious, or they may not follow any rituals or whatever, and then they say that, I don't do any harm to the society and there is nothing else needed, right? So what has been said is that simple morality is not sufficient, right? Somebody may be moral today, right? Somebody may not take a bribe today. 2 rupees bribe somebody may not take. If somebody is given a 10 lakh rupees as bribe, they may also falter. They may, they may get attracted and they may say, okay, it's okay, I'm going to take. So the simple morality can be actually dangerous. It can break down any moment, right? So what is the spiritual morality which is different from the simple morality? That is what we will be seeing, right? So this is actually that spiritual morality is what is that by the spiritual morality, the mind actually changes. The mind changes. The tendency which people have to do small things which are not correct, that tendency gets completely eliminated, right? So it is not that one needs to remind oneself about this, that one should not do that, but the tendency or desire to do that such a thing is completely eliminated from the mind. For that, one has to do sadhana. By doing sadhana and by following this spiritual morality, one progresses forward, right? One gets oneness with that Brahma. So this is what we have been talking about. Now let's actually go to the following paragraph. Bhagini, can you take the next one? It must therefore be emphasized. I can't hear you, Bhagini. Pushprata Bhagini?
Okay. I thought you called Shubham Bhagini. Sorry.
Yeah.
One minute.
It must therefore be emphasized.
It must therefore be emphasized that even before beginning sadhana, one must follow moral principles strictly. Those who do not follow these principles should not follow the path of sadhana. Otherwise, they will bring about their own harm and that of others. People of over-selfish nature fear the path of sadhana itself for fear of following its strict moral principles. They are concerned that the spread of spiritual ideals may inconvenience the fulfillment of their mean, selfish desire, and therefore they malign the path of sadhana in an effort to conceal their own weakness and dishonesty. But remember that those who are lacking in moral spirit do not deserve to be called human beings. However hard they may try, their talk alone cannot camouflage the meanness of their mind for a long time. So, it is emphasized that before beginning sadhana, one must follow the path of moral principles. One must follow the moral principles strictly. Those who do not follow these principles, they shouldn't follow the path of sadhana. So if they follow and they are bringing about their own harm, and so they shouldn't follow it. Now people of over selfish nature, what they do is they fear the path of sadhana, thinking that thinking that they cannot follow that is with the fear that they cannot follow the path of moral principles. No, it has gone up, Bhagini. So they are concerned that the spread of spiritual idols may lead to the detriment of their own selfishness or their weaknesses. So in order to cover their own weaknesses or meanness, the people who are lacking in moral principles, they find that they don't go into the path of spiritualness, and they just talk about telling this the path is not a correct path. But however they try to camouflage, or they try to influence anyone with their talk, or the meanness with their talk, the meanness of their mind cannot be hid for a long time, and so they only destroy themselves by being selfish or mean. This is what is said in this para. The main emphasis is we should have the moral principles, and with these moral principles only we can do sadhana.
Yes, Bhagni, so beautifully said. Yeah. So this point cannot be overemphasized, is that uh, spiritual morality, by following spiritual morality and practicing sadhana, what happens is that mind becomes very, very, very sensitive to the vibration of others, right? So the general population is easily befooled. They end up, for example, voting for people who do not have any interest, would not have interest in their welfare, right? So like especially at the higher levels, these people running for election, there many times they are very, very selfish. They do not have the welfare of common people in their heart, but people end up selecting them, right? They get befooled. They don't understand that these people are not good, right? So what happens is, when somebody engages in spiritual life, they come to learn, right? I mean, they experience and feel and imbibe the concept of spiritual morality very deeply, right? They become very aware of the vibration of others, right? If somebody doesn't have a sincere vibration, the sadhakas then can detect immediately, right? They can detect it immediately. Somebody who follows yoganishta jivanam, right, what happens in their mind is that their entire existence gets completely changed from inside out, right? They thought that they were good before they started, in most cases, no doubt, right? There are some exceptions who are just terrible criminals, but they became wonderful sadhakas and spiritualists by following the yogic life, right? Most people think that they are good, right? But even then, they come to understand much more deeply what is it to be good by following yoganishta jivanam, right? Falling in love with a divine entity, dedicating their whole life for pleasing that supreme entity. Then what happens is that their whole existence completely changes, right? And also their perception of others also completely changes, right? So here it is being warned that those people who are selfish, right, uh, until they are ready to follow the uh, spiritual morality, they should not do sadhana, right? And indeed they generally do not want to do it. They fear and they criticize the path, right? There is no shortage of such people in this world, right? People you know do all the tall talk, and then but they have deep in their heart, they have selfish desires, right? So uh, it's important that anybody who wants to follow wants to do sadhana, they have to follow the spiritual morality, right? That is the spiritual morality is important part of the sadhaka's life. It is important to understand, perceive what is it to degenerate, right? So we need to understand what is good and what is bad, right? So people who follow the different religions, right, they 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 actually talk a lot, right? But behind the door they may be doing something wrong, right? So if we really want to be sincere, right, if we want to be sincere, we need to follow the moral principles and also do sadhana. If we don't do that, what happens is that we degenerate, our mind degenerates, right? They just become a hypocrite, right? And they try to befool people. They have all tall they do all tall talk, and then but their mind is full of meanness, right? So uh, so it's important that our goal is to follow the proper side. We should follow the spiritual morality and also do sadhana, right? So now let's see what the spiritual morality is. So the first is yama sadhana, Shubham Bagni, do you want to take? Are you there, Shubham Bagni?
Yes, Bhagini. Yes,
Please take. Hari.
Yama sadhana. The first lesson of human conduct is Yama sadhana. We shall discuss all the aspects of Yama sadhana. You know that Yama consists of 5 principles: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. Ahimsa,
Aparigraha.
satya,
Aparigraha. Aparigraha.
aparigraha. Okay, Bhagini. Ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, Yama. The practice of these 5 principles achieve control by different processes. The word Sayama in Sanskrit means regulated conduct.
Sayama.
Sayama in Sanskrit means regulated conduct. It should be clearly understood that Sayama doesn't imply destroying something or somebody. Okay, so our first lesson is Yama sadhana. We will discuss different aspects. Yama consists of 5 principles: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. And by doing different processes, we can control over these 5 principles. And the word sayama means regulated conduct. And sayama doesn't mean destroying anything. Okay, and next is ahimsa.
Very, very good, Bhagini. So now we're going to be talking about the Yama sadhana, the 5 principles of Yama or ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Parigraha means to collect, gather things. Aparigraha means living a simple life. We will see each of these shortly. That is what is said in that Sanskrit shloka. Ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, yamaha. Right? So so here we are going to be seeing the meaning of each of these terms, right? Because in the society these terms have been understood differently, right? The general understanding of these words in the society could be different, right? We are actually going to see what their real meaning is, what is the meaning of each and every one of these, right? And we are going to see how it is understood in the society, how it is wrongly interpreted in the society, and what is the right meaning of this, right? And this is something very, very new for us, because we approach this from a true perspective of spiritual morality, right? So the first 5 are called as Yama sadhana, right? It means regulated conduct, right? Regulated conduct. So these are more related with the external interaction with the society and the world at large, right? How we interact with the society, right? And the niyama, yama is how we behave with the society, and niyama is internal morality. Both of them are very essential, right? So we are going to take each principle and dive deep into it and understand each of them. These are very, very important, and they're very, very beautiful, right? So let us take the first one, ahimsa. Bhagini, Pushpalata Bhagini, do you want to take it?
Bhagini. Ahimsa manovakya cha sarva.
No, let me see. Let me say manovakayaihi sarvabhutanam apidanam ahimsa.
Manovakyayai.
Kayaihi. Manaha means mind,
Right.
speech, kaya means body.
Manovakayaihi sarvabhutanam
apidanam.
Oh, that is like okay. Apidanam ahimsa. Ahimsa
Vakyayihi.
vaka
वाक्
vakai.
कायैः
Okay, kayaihi. Mano vak kayaihi sarvabhutanam sarvabhutanam
अपीडनम्
sarvabhuta
अपीडनम्
sarvabhut. Okay, okay. Sarvabhutanam apidanam ahimsa. Okay. If it was in Sanskrit itself, no, I would have read it even better.
no worries
No problem. Ahimsa means not inflicting pain or hurt on anybody by thought, word or action. This word is wrongly interpreted by many. Some so-called learned persons in fact define the word ahimsa in such a manner that if one adheres to it strictly, it is impossible to live not only in a society but also in forests, hills and caves. In such an interpretation of the term ahimsa, not only is killing prohibited, but even to fight a defensive fight is not allowed. By tilling the land, one may cause the death of innumerable insects and creatures under the earth's surface. Therefore, the use of plough is not permissible. The followers of such an interpretation of ahimsa says that those who want to lead a religious life should not use the plough themselves, but employ other low-born people to do the same to save themselves from the sin of destroying life. Sugar must be poured into the abodes of the hands, no matter whether human beings have food or not. The poor must spare the blood from their bodies to save insects. The born enemies of the poor must spare the blood from their bodies to save insects, the born enemies of human beings. Save insects. Okay, that last line I didn't understand. But anyway, in general, ahimsa means not inflicting pain or hurt or anybody by thought, word or action. This word is wrongly interpreted by many. Some so-called learned person in fact define the word ahimsa in such a manner that if one adheres to it strictly, it is impossible to live in a society. They have to live only in forests or hills or caves. So, in such an interpretation of the term, ahimsa is not on of the term ahimsa, not only is killing prohibited, but even to fight a defensive fight is prohibited. So, that doesn't mean the word ahimsa. By tilling the land also, one may cause the death of innumerable creatures under the earth's surface. So the use of plough is also not permissible. The followers of such an interpretation of ahimsa say that those who want to lead a religious life, they should not use the plough themselves, but make the low people or the poor people to plough the land. They simply pour sugar to the ants or to the ants to help the ants. So so this much I understood. That is, if really this ahimsa is so defined, we cannot go into defensive wars, that is waging a war against others, and also really ploughing a land they don't do, they make someone else do it, but that person is also a human being only. So in what way this will help, we do not know. And the last line I didn't understand actually.
Yeah. Nicely said, Bhagni. Thank you. So, what is actually ahimsa is मनोवाक्कायैः सर्वभूतानाम् अपीडनम् ahimsa, right? Manah by the thought, by word, by action, right? Not causing harm to anybody knowingly. Knowingly not causing harm. Apidanam. Pidanam means causing harm. Apidanam means not causing harm. In refrain from knowingly harming others in thought, word or deed is ahimsa. That is what apidanam means. Apidanam means not causing harm knowingly, right? So that is what is ahimsa. We need to understand what the meaning of the word ahimsa is. Like people misuse this term all the time, right? So that leads to hypocrisy, right? So people, it's one thing that we need to understand is that it's impossible to live in this world without killing something, right? So in order to survive, we have to kill something, we have to eat something. So there are people in this world who think that tilling the soil is against ahimsa because a number of innumerable insects will die under the earth's surface, right? So therefore using the plow is not allowed, right? Such people who have this kind of interpretation of ahimsa, they themselves will not want to use the plow, but they don't mind using other people to actually plow the land, right? They think that by using other people they will be saved from the sin of destroying the insects, right? So they are all hypocrites, right? Because they're indirectly employing these people, right? So they are actually tilling the soil, and whatever food that you purchase, it is because of their efforts, right? With your purchase of the food, you are indirectly employing and paying for all of those people to do the farming on your behalf, right? So one should not live in blindness that, thinking that, I am not directly farming, somebody else is farming, right? But actually you are participating in supporting the farming, right? So one's money is an extension of one's hand. So one should not live in blindness that one is refraining from such activities because they don't have their own hands in the soil, right? It is hypocrisy. It is complete misunderstanding of the word ahimsa, right? So people say that, we have to let mosquitoes bite us because they need to live, right? This is also hypocrisy, right? If we let the mosquitoes bite us, then the people will get malaria and they will die, right? So the notion of the people wear mask on their face thinking that they're going to breathe the insects will go into your mouth every time you breathe, right? Whether you're wearing the mask or not, right, some very very minute organism will go into your mouth, right? So what the point over here is that we need to understand what the true meaning of ahimsa is. Where even if you're wearing a mask, there could be some microorganism that could get crushed and killed, right? So what is ahimsa and what is not ahimsa, we need to understand that properly, right? So if somebody comes to attack you, right, and you don't protect yourself, right, then somebody is going to get harmed, right? You're going to get harmed. So in that situation, protecting yourself is not against ahimsa, right? So in order to protect yourself, if you take some effort, that is not against ahimsa, right? Even in the process of cooking, some insects might get killed, right? So for our survival, we need food, so we cannot completely stop cooking, right? So the last sentence, that is what is being said over here, is that poor must spare their blood from their bodies to save the insects. So there are certain people, followers of certain religion, who think that that sugar must be poured into the abode of ant. Whether food is available for human beings or not, they don't care. They think that they have to protect the insects, right? So essentially the poor people will have to struggle for food, right, just because to save the insects who are the enemies of human beings. So we need to understand what exactly is the definition of ahimsa, right? So so the question of not fighting a defensive fight, right? So that is not the correct understanding of ahimsa, right? Essentially one should not do anything to stop the born enemies of human beings, so that is not ahimsa, right? What is ahimsa will be clearly stated in the uh, following paragraph. So let's move on. Shubham Bagni, do you want to take the next one?
Yes, begin. Ahimsa means not inflicting pain or hurt on.
Next paragraph.
Begin or next. This is no
Next.
definition of ahimsa.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, Bagni, that paragraph. This is no definition of ahimsa.
This is no definition of ahimsa. It merely causes confusion. It is contrary to true dharma. It is against the very law of existence. Even the process of respiration involves the death of numberless microbes. They are all living beings, and to save them, one will have to stop breathing. The administration of medicines to the suffering will have to be stopped, because such medicines cause the destruction of these disease-causing bacteria. If ahimsa is so interpreted, where will such interpreters be able to stand destroying the insects that cause impurity? It is also not possible to drink impure water, because then it is likely that such microbes might die in the stomach. So this paragraph is defining the definition of ahimsa. We have so many confusions, and like if we are saying that we don't have to kill anybody, then we have to stop breathing, because so many living beings are inhaling during the breathing process. And also if we stop taking clear filtered water, then also that microbes stomach. That's all, begin.
Yeah. So Bagini, can you take each line and explain? Shubham Bagni, can you take each line and explain? There's a little bit more to it. Are you there, Shubham Bagini? Hari Om. Okay. So Shubham Bagni, do you want to take each line and explain? Bagini, I can't hear you.
Hello. Yes, Bagini.
Please take each. Can you take each line and explain? I think there's a little bit more to it. Read each line and then explain. In that particular.
Mic is hanging. Yes. Yeah. So there are so many interpreters to ahimsa, and then there a question arises that where will such interpreters will be able to stand?
I can't hear you, Bagini. Okay. It looks like you have a problem with your mic. Okay. So, okay, be on mute, Bagini. Okay. So, thank you, Bagini. So here, what we are trying to say is having this kind of very, very rigid kind of definition is really not a definition of ahimsa. It only causes confusion, right? So this kind of definition, this narrow interpretation, essentially is against the very laws of existence, right? It's an indiscriminate utilization of the term ahimsa, which includes intentionally and also non-intentionally, right? It includes all kind of harming and killing, right? The word harm is not appropriate here because harm indicates some kind of intentionality, right? So unknowingly harming and unknowingly killing, if you discriminately apply the term ahimsa so broadly to include everything, then it goes against the very laws of existence, because everything in this universe has a right to exist and protect its own existence, right? This is the law of the universe, right? Everything in this universe has an inherent right to protect its own existence, and such an indiscriminate use of the term ahimsa will go against the law of existence. So one cannot protect one's own existence properly, right? In order to follow the jaivi dharma, right, there is this jaivi dharma, pashu dharma, manava dharma. The jaivi dharma is that every living being has a right to breathe, eat, and propagate its own existence and defend its own existence. It's very important to understand what jaivi dharma is. Jaivi dharma means every living being has a right to breathe, eat, propagate its own existence, and defend its own existence. So this is jaivi dharma that a one-celled organism has, and a human being has, animals have, everything have this jaivi dharma. They have a right to protect their existence, right? So that is not possible with such an indiscriminate use of the term ahimsa as discussed in the prior paragraph, right? So various examples have been given, right? So all have the right to breathe, eat, have clean water. All these things are required. We need medicine if we are sick, right? These examples illustrate the same point, that it goes against the very existence, right? If somebody has a bacteria, right, that means they have an infection and that is causing a serious disease. If we don't treat that disease with all the available means, then one is definitely going to die, right? So this is against the law of existence. It's against jaivi dharma, right? And so it's not working. That kind of definition is not working. So what is the meaning of ahimsa? We are going to see that. Pushpalata, let me take the next one.
In the post-Vedic age, this type of ahimsa was practiced in India for a long period, and as a result, life for ordinary citizens became very miserable. The populace viewed with fear the religion dominated by this so-called populace viewed with fear the religion dominated by this so-called ahimsa. They were forced to accept an atheistic belief, and they left the path of dharma, devoid of any code of conduct, and instead of giving first preference to their own selfishness, such atheists became a burden to the society and to the world. Those who wanted to enforce the so-called ahimsa influenced religion because impractical and impotent by nature. Because to enforce the so-called ahimsa related religion became impractical and impotent by nature. Thus there is a pressing need in the modern age to rethink this historical facts from a new angle of vision. So the post-Vedic age, people used to follow all this strictly, and for them a life for an ordinary citizen became very miserable. So they started to view the religion as dominated by the so-called ahimsa, and so they were forced to accept an atheistic belief. That is, they went out of following this religion because of all these definitions, and so this atheist dominated the society so much so that the people who wanted to enforce, who wanted to bring in the ahimsa, were not able to do so. So now this following of this should be, in this modern society, the same interpretation of ahimsa should be done in a different way so that it suits the modern society. Thereby a new angle of vision should be thought of to bring about the historical facts that were followed in the olden days or the post Vedic age.
Nicely said, Bhagini. So the bottom line here is, with this indiscriminate, unrealistic, confusing approach to ahimsa, right, it makes people go to the extreme, right? This kind of definition has nothing to do with the real meaning of ahimsa. Trying to enforce such a thing, right, people ultimately go to the extreme, right? So what happens is that when the religions try to enforce this kind of very narrow view, then people become atheists and they say, I don't believe in God, right? So I'm not going to accept this. And then they go to another extreme where they become extremely selfish, right? So when you try to impose an unrealistic, impractical, impossible version of ahimsa, then it not only leads people to selfishness but to hypocrisy, right? And ultimately it becomes impossible to follow, right? Then people go to the other extreme and then they become extremely selfish, right? So this is an impossible version of ahimsa and it's not proper, right? So people say that I cannot follow such a version, and then they completely throw it, right? So uh, so there is a pressing need to rethink what is the correct definition of ahimsa, right? What is the proper definition of ahimsa? We need to think that, right? So let's take the next one. Shubham Bhagini, are you there? Shubham Bhagini?
नमस्कार भगिनी.
Yeah, read the next paragraph.
धन्यवाद भगिनी.
This age was followed by, can you read? Shubham Bhagini, can you read? I do not hear you.
Yes.
Can you read the next paragraph?
Post Vedic age, this type of ahimsa was practiced in
next
India
one
for a long period. And
Bhagini, next paragraph.
Life for ordinary citizens. This age was followed by another wherein of the word ahimsa was propagated. According to this definition, ahimsa to cause pain to living beings, but did not include the slaughter of animals for food. This idea is very much mistaken. If causing pain amounts to ahimsa, the slaughter of animals for food must also be called ahimsa, because the animal don't offer their head willingly at the altar of death for this cause. Ahimsa means not to cause pain to living beings, and also not to slaughter animals for food. This idea is very much mistaken. If we do pain to some living animals, then it is ahimsa. Then slaughtering of animals for food is also ahimsa. For taste, we are killing someone is ahimsa.
Slaughtering of animals for food is ahimsa, not ahimsa.
Because they don't willingly offer their head, oh, you can eat us or you can kill us. They also feel pain, or they have all that nervous system that they feel pain, and that plants, they don't feel that pain, so we can eat them, but not for the animals, and also not the dairy product also.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, nicely said, Bhagini. So yeah, so essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to see all the wrong, incorrect interpretations of ahimsa that have been happening historically, that have happened historically, and then we're trying to reject each one of those, and then trying to see what is the correct interpretation of the word ahimsa, right? So this concept of this notion that ahimsa applies only to living beings and not to animals, right? That is an incorrect approach, right? So thinking that pain is there only in human beings and not in animals, right? Thinking that slaughtering animals for food is is not himsa, right? Is not himsa, is a wrong, incorrect understanding, right? So uh, so let's actually go to the next paragraph. Pushpalata Bhagini.
This age was followed up by another.
Recently, next paragraph.
Oh, she read it off, huh? Okay.
Yeah, she read.
Recently, one more interpretation for this word has been heard. If somewhat, it somewhat resembles the second definition described earlier, but it even lacks the simplicity or sincerity of that interpretation. According to this interpretation, ahimsa means non-violence or non-application of force. Possibly, in this interpretation, which has distorted most the meaning of ahimsa, in all actions of life, whether small or big, the unit mind progresses by surmounting the opposing forces. Life evolves through the medium of force. If this force is not properly developed, life becomes absolutely dull. No wise person would advocate such a thing, because this would be contrary to the very fundamentals of human nature. So now, one more interpretation for the word ahimsa is that, so it but it resembles, it almost resembles the second definition described earlier, that is slaughter, to kill human beings is ahimsa, but for food killing animals is not ahimsa, it is now said. But because the animals do not offer their heads willingly to the altar of death for this cause, so this is also called only as himsa. But what they do is, according to this, what they do to the second interpretation, they feel that ahimsa means non-violence or non-application of force. But because now this has completely changed the very meaning of ahimsa. In all actions of life, whether small or big, the unit mind progresses only by surmounting the opposing forces. So life evolves through the medium of force. If the force is not properly developed, life becomes absolutely dull. So no wise person should advocate such a thing, that not that is, ahimsa is not is only for non-violence or non-application of force, because this would be contrary to the very fundamentals of human nature. So non-application of force, if it is advocated also, it is not a definition of ahimsa. That is what is said in this paragraph.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. So here like recently one more interpretation has been heard, right? So which resembles the second one, but it lacks the simplicity or sincerity of that interpretation. So what are we talking about? We're talking about non-violence, This is the introduction to the so-called ahimsa of Mahatma Gandhi. That is what we are talking about. His name is not mentioned, but this is what is being discussed, non-violence. He is the one who made this term non-violence so famous, and this non-application of force, that one should not use force even to defend oneself, right? This is the idea. And in yoga, this is the opposite of that, right? So even to do sadhana, we have to use, all our facilities to develop the body and mind, right? Even doing sadhana is not a passive activity, right? Non-violence is a very, very passive approach of life, and yoga is the absolute opposite of that. Yoga is dynamic. It involves the usage of tremendous force in every sphere of life, right? Thoughts are coming in the mind as one is trying to do sadhana, right? One is trying to develop a love for that supreme entity, right? And in that process, when they're trying to do sadhana and trying to make their mind one pointed, they have to fight. They get different kinds of thoughts, like, I have to beat somebody at 2 o'clock, I have to make money, I have to do this and I have to do that, right? One has to fight against these degenerating, crudifying forces within oneself, and also the forces outside, right? So there are those people in the world who are misguided, and they come and try to cheat you. They think that they're helping, right? They're helping themselves by cheating you, right? They're not helping themselves, but they're benefiting from it, right? And in doing this, they're actually creating a harm for you, right? So these many things will happen. So the general principle that is being explained over here is that this is a very narrow interpretation of the term ahimsa, that the non-violence of Mahatma Gandhi. It's a very narrow interpretation. Okay, let's actually go on to the next one. Shubham Bagni, do you want to take the next one? The last one we'll take for today. Okay, Pushpalata Bagni, take it.
The champions of non-violence, so-called ahimsa, have therefore to adopt hypocrisy and falsehood whenever they seek to use the so-called ahimsa for their purposes. If the people of one country conquer another country by brute force, the people of the defeated nation must use force to regain their freedom. Such a use of force may be crude or subtle, and as a result, both the body and mind of the conquerors may be hurt. When there is an application of any application of force, it cannot be called non-violence. Is it not violence if you hurt a person not by your hands but by some other indirect means? Is the boycott movement against a particular nation not violence? Therefore I say that those who interpret non-violence and ahimsa to be synonymous have to repeatedly resort to hypocrisy to justify their actions. The army or police are necessary for administration of a country. These organizations do not use force even in case of necessity. Their existence will be of no meaning. The mark of so-called ahimsa, non-violence, on a bullet does not make the bullet non-violent. So the champion of the so-called ahimsa has therefore as when people to adopt hypocrisy and falsehood, then they feel that they are using the so-called ahimsa for their purposes. If the people of one country are conquered by another country and they lose the war, they have to use force to regain. They have to regain their freedom. So such a use of force can be very crude or subtle, but they have to use a force. And so the result of telling that ahimsa is not using the force clearly shows, destroys the definition of ahimsa. So the people who say that not using force they are only really selfish, and they are going into this one of ahimsa, of hypocrisy only. They are going into the path of hypocrisy only, or they are following hypocrisy only. That is what is essentially said in this paragraph. So if the use of force is not if the force is not used, a country cannot have a defense person or an army person, because this force only is going to help the country to protect the country from opposite forces or opposite, or the enemies, or say another country. So the definition of ahimsa, not using force, is clearly destroyed. So I have said in this paragraph.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. There are various examples that are given on this point. The point over here is that when British took over India, that was actually wrong, and it should have been fought back against with guns and with everything that was available at that point in time, right? Instead of just doing the so-called boycotting or starving oneself or sitting in a room or refusing to eat, right? So later on what happened was that they were burning of buses and railway cars, and all they were doing were like harming the public utilities which are for public good, right? So somebody burning down the railway cars and things like that, right? This does not help the public, right? So where force is to be used, it has to be used. Even if it means killing the attacker, it should be used, right? For instance, the Britishers or the Muslims who attacked India, right, or the Britishers who attacked India, that should have been opposed with all strength of every sort, right? If it was before the age of guns, then it should have been fought with swords and spears, right? So those people had no right to come to India. That should have been vigorously opposed. So in the name of non-violence and not using the force that one had at one's disposal, completely wrong, because it goes against the laws of existence. If somebody is attacked, then one should attack back in order to protect oneself, right? Because everybody has this right to jaivi dharma, right? So if ants are coming into your house, right, they may not be attacking you, but they are doing harm unknowingly, right? And it should be stopped. If a mosquito is about to bite somebody, right, and a mosquito is a malaria let's say it's a malaria causing mosquito, right, or any mosquito, then you have to kill them to stop it, right? You have to kill them without any hesitation. So this is not against ahimsa, right? It's not against ahimsa to protect your own existence if that is being threatened unnecessarily by another entity, right? British had no need to attack India. They came because they want to do business, and they want to cheat people and take away everything, right? In the name of business, they took over the complete country, right? So in that case, it was not wrong to use force, right? But the point is that Gandhi, he created a wrong philosophy, and because of that, he was a coward, and because of the country got divided, right? And we have this Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all of that happened. The country got divided, and there's so much going on after that, right? So much of hinsa going on after that, right? So the point over here is that we need to know what the true definition of ahimsa is, right? Ahimsa means knowingly not harming others, right? But if somebody attacks your own existence, then we have every right to use force to protect yourself, that we have to respond. If somebody attacks you, we have to respond. We cannot just keep quiet and saying it is ahimsa, right? So use of force against somebody who is attacking is not hinsa, right? In yogic life, every life has a right to protect itself. This is the jaivi dharma. Jaivi dharma is a right to protect one's own existence, and all of us have the ability to live on this planet peacefully. There is no need to attack others, right? And if people do so, then they should know that they are going to be opposed, and this is dharmic, it is not adharmic, right? It's not against dharma, it's not against ahimsa, to protect oneself, to attack back when one is being attacked. So that is the basic idea here in this paragraph, right? So this is the first point of yama, which is ahimsa, and it should be rigorously followed, right? It should be rigorously followed. That means not eating meat, right? And a very vital aspect of that, milk is also a vital aspect of that. Milk, the way the milk has been produced, the way the cows are harmed in that process, right? So drinking milk is against ahimsa. It's not following the principle of ahimsa, right? The cow's milk is for the cow's baby, it's not for human beings. And at any type of scale, when cow's milk is utilized, it involves harm to the cows. They live in brutal conditions, right? When they are used in the industry, they are sold for killing, they are killed for beef when they are no longer producing milk, right? So nobody should live in a delusion that they are following ahimsa and also drinking milk, right? Drinking milk is a hypocrisy. Many people may be doing it unknowingly. They don't understand what ahimsa means, and they don't know what's happening to the cows, right? But ignorance is not bliss. We should know what's happening to the cows. We should understand what ahimsa means. We should not participate in himsa, right? At the same time, that is not also, milk is also not needed for our health, right? As we know, it's harmful for our health, right? So every jiva has a right to protect itself, right? If the country is getting attacked, then we are not going to be sitting in the house and not doing anything about it. We should protect ourselves, right? This is part of yogic life, whether mentally or physically. We have with our fist, or if we needed a gun or whatever, we have to protect ourselves, right? So that is what is the true ahimsa, right? That is what is the true ahimsa. And in yogic life, we are doing all of this. Everything we are doing, we need our existence to please Parama Purusha, to do sadhana, to follow the dharmic life. We need to protect our existence, right? So the first aspect of yama is ahimsa. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so we will actually conclude our session over here. There are no questions. Dhanyavadah, namaskarah.
धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः भगिनी।
नमस्कारः.